Uh, can I demand a trade from to the point? Can I can I do that? Go to the Clippers? Can I? Can I don't know. Anyway, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in onto the point with the king, and you guys can find us on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, if you are on YouTube, we would like for you to click subscribe. We would like for you to leave a like because once we get to 750 subscribers, we are giving away this delectable Raptors hoodie. Okay? And we'll be giving it to one of you, to the Point family out there. Now, let me tell you something. You guys gotta go enjoy all of the To the Point family on all of the podcasts they are on, especially my man right there, Beyond the Locker Room, who I call B. How are you doing today, and where can they find you, my man?
Hey man, you can find me. I'm doing well. First thing, thank you for inviting me onto the show, and you can find me at X in this case here on X. You can say at Beyond Locker Room RM. Gotta get used to that thing. RM.
Call it
So
my ex.
exactly, and I'd be on different various various YouTube podcasts like yours and various other words. So you might see me pop up in different places, man. So I appreciate the opportunity today.
You know what? There's a reason why I asked you to come on here today, right? Currently, right now, your Toronto Raptors are sitting at a record of 2-4. Okay, they're going to be going through a tough stretch, right? But there has been a coaching change, and there has been a different change in the style of play. But what I wanted to ask you is, why are your Raptors sitting at 2-4 and not 4-2?
Oh boy. Well, I think it's two things I think off the top of my head. I think one is the half-court offense, I think has been discussed quite a bit. It's been pretty abysmal. And the other thing is poor execution late in games. They have not been good late in games. You can make an argument this team should be 4-2 instead of 2-4. Uh, um, so that's the two things that pop in my head immediately.
You know what? My response to that is, you know what? They have not been really collapsing the defense on as a coaching standpoint within the paint, right? To open up. I think they've been relying too much on the outside shots, right? I think they might have been very comfortable with that. Uh, I honestly think that's what it is, which alludes and segues to my next question to you is how, and you ladies and gentlemen have clicked on this thumbnail for this, what is the recipe for success with the Toronto Raptors?
Well, I mean, sometimes some things are simple in this case. It's very straightforward. In the NBA, in this case, if your best players are playing well, you have a better chance to win. And what I mean by that is you have to find ways that maximize your best players as best you can. I don't think they've done so right now. It's as a lot of people say it's early, but I think we mentioned offline, the old Yogi Berra phrase, it could get early, it could get late early, and based on what this road trip is, it could get ugly very quickly if we don't be careful, and if the Raptors don't be careful. And I think you have to kind of like, Darko has to understand, like, if he wants to, push his philosophy, that's great. But I think there's got to be some give and take and realize what your personnel and what your team can do and play to their strengths a bit more.
Hey, boo boo, with the picnic up baskets. Do you? This is off script, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think the players are buying in to Darko and Jama and everybody on the coaching staff with the Raptors?
I think they are trying to. Let's put it that way. I think almost to a fault. I think players are
with it, or do you think it's hurting them? Like, where do you see it? Plus,
I think it's hurting them because I think right now they're out there thinking too much instead of just playing basketball. So there's been times in this case here, whichever players you want to pick in this case, they've had the advantage in their matchup, and they're not taking advantage of that matchup. Instead, they want to walk through and make sure they do what they're supposed to do. Pass it here, pass it there, pass it to the elbow, cut from here, cut from there. And you've passed up possibly two good matchups in this case to attack, right? And I think that's where, the one guy that seems to have figured it out and said, forget this, is Scotty. He's the one player that seems to have figured out where he's like said, you know what, like I got a matchup. I'm not sitting around here passing it 3 more times.
We'll get into that. We'll get into Scotty. Trust me, right? Mm-hmm. There's no dick in Scotty. But okay, so with the way the Raptors are currently playing and they're adapting to this new style of coaching and their new way and their new philosophy, do you think that it can be better? Because I will say this, since we're going to get into players in a minute, I think I've seen a lot more from Gary Trent when he's going downhill, attacking the rim, as opposed to standing outside and just waiting to take a shot. Do you think there is something there with the aggressiveness? Because in the 2 games that they've won, right, and when I watched them, I thought it was amazing that they were attacking the paint, because if you're going to stand there all day on the sidelines, right, like outside the 3-point line, and just try to take shots, you can't get that if you're not attacking the paint. The other teams are going to expose you for that. They're gonna alleviate that. And do you think that the Raptors, with especially Yak down there and Pascal down there and Trent attacking the rim and Scotty with his mid-range, do you think that can help to be a recipe for success?
Well, yeah, I think just trying to put them in better situations, right? Like, so you mentioned Gary, for example. In the preseason, they were running some pin down, some curls for him to get him going, right? Now he's just, as you said before, he's just standing still, or he's like trying to force a drive, which plays to his weakness. Gary Trent Jr. is not a great finisher around the hoop, so like I'm not sure why he keeps going in there thinking he's going to get a better result. This is where I'm saying, like, run some offensive actions for him where he could come around, knock down a shot, or the other possibility is he's a very good catch and shoot, shooter. So if you had, be it Barnes or Siakam, or in some circumstances OG in the post, work him as this case spotting up the 3-point line, kicking out to him to shoot a 3. Just, I think one of the problems I think I'm seeing right now in this half-court offense is guys don't know where to get their shots from, and they're very confused on where they should be taking shots from. And as I said before, it's becoming a detriment for the offense, and I'm not sure how much longer that tension can last if the L's start piling up.
Do you think it might be just an adjustment, or people being complacent?
I don't think it's either. I think in this case, I think it's systemic. So what I mean by that is when you're putting guys in positions, before you could pick any player. We just talked about Gary just now, right? Where he's not getting played to his strengths. You can say what you want about Gary, but Gary in this case is known to be a guy who can get a bucket. And now he's averaging like 9 points a game. Like what's going on here? You take Precious Achiuwa in this case. Precious Achiuwa in this case being in the hub of offense where he's never been known to be a passer or has had great judgment. And now you're putting him in the central part of the offense to make decisions on where the ball will go. Yeah, not sure that's really the wisest thing as well, too. I mean, you keep going down the list of all sorts of different scenarios. I mean, even guys in this case here like Grady. Grady's got more to his game just spotting out for threes. Well, you got a young guy in this case that's trying to gain confidence. Having him sit out there for like 20 minutes to go and shoot 3 threes, vets can do that type of stuff. Young guys that are used to having the ball coming out from college, you got to give him a little bit more than that. He can do pin downs as well. He can do, in this case, backdoor cuts. There's ways to get Grady going without having him spotting up in the corner for a 3.
I agree that's conducive to his career. But go on, please.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly, right? But it's like he's got more game. He has a pull-up game. He has all that stuff. He's not just a 3-point shooter. And I think them treating him like he's Steve Kerr is like, yeah, that's fine. But, vets are naturally able to do so because they've built their mindset like that. So you take, for example, Otto Porter comes off the bench after not playing 4 games in the whole preseason. Comes down there and knocks down 2 threes and 3 shots. because in this case, he's used to that type of preparation. When you're a college, like up there as being one of the top college players in the game, you're used to having the ball in your hands all the time.
You're going to be hungry.
Right, exactly. You play ball in this case. After a while, your hands are going to feel like stone right when you get the ball because you're not seeing the ball. And you have to find ways to get guys who are naturally used to scoring, get the ball in their hands. They don't have to be scoring. They can be setting up for passes, anything like that. And I just find that this offense finds ways to, play to the players' deficiencies more than do the play to their strengths. And it's really frustrating to watch at times.
Really? Okay, hold on. This is off script. Why is it more deficient than efficient?
I think because you're wedded to what you want to play, but you don't have the personnel to play that way. Right? So when you're playing split actions in this case here, you having guys flaring out to the 3-point line. Yeah, if you're the Golden State Warriors, you can do that. When you're the Toronto Raptors, you don't have shooters like that to do that. But we're running out here. We're out here doing schemes like that, and the defense sitting there like essentially laughing, like, yeah, you go ahead. And you're just wasting time on the shot clock all the time, and you're down to 7 seconds now, and now someone has to make something out of nothing. To your original point, trying to get the advantage. And now you're sitting here with 5 guys and 10 eyes looking at you. And here we are. So it's like, what was all this here passing all around the perimeter, and we're getting nothing out of it? So that's
the thing. When I still play. But when I used to play like in different leagues, I what I would do is sometimes I would back off of a guy when he goes to take an outside shot, because it's like, and then when my teammates would look at me and be like, and the coach would be like, "Why'd you let him do that?" I'm like, "Because he's not gonna hit it. If he hits 4 out of 20."
Right, you tip your cap to him and say, so be, if he hits 4 that night, you tip your cap to him and say, great, but you're playing the percentages, what you're doing, right?
Exactly. So I'm saying, come at me.
Right. So the same thing's happening there. So, like one last point that I know we want to move on, but McDaniels, poor guy had 8 shots, all 3-point shots. Now, McDaniels can get streaky and shoot threes. Not saying he's a great 3-point shooter, but he's proven that he can hit a few of them. But that's not his natural game. The guy's a world-class athlete. He can slash and stuff like that. Have you seen him run a play for the cut to the basket? No. But, as a guy play hoops. I used to play hoops. Psychology is once you see it go down the hole, all of a sudden what happens? So he gets a breakaway against Philadelphia. He gets his first basket. The next time he gets a 3 in the corner, splash. Because in this case here, you just need to get a guy off the side in this case here. And I find that this offense is like so restrictive and so predictable that it's hard for guys to get off in this case here when they need to, because everyone's here counting their steps in this case. Okay, I go here, and then I'm going to make a B cut here, and then this guy's supposed to be at the elbow here, and everyone's thinking. As I said before, the only guy that's not thinking, just playing,
is Scotty.
Scotty,
Now, can we get into Scotty here? Because I think Scotty is the major, as a chef, I will say Scotty is the most major ingredient in the Raptors' success going forward. Dude, this guy, oh my God, he's just taking control of games, right? He's not there yet as a Kobe level or a Mike level to take control of a game, but he's definitely, you and me as old heads, we can see this. He's definitely showing the signs of it. What are your thoughts on Scotty's before we go down the rest of the set of players?
Well, Scotty's situation, I think, is like, one of the things I had concerns about Barnes last year was a couple of items. One was just the effort. There's too many flows and too many ups and downs like a roller coaster on his effort from night to night or quarter to quarter. And it was just frustrating because you're the youngest guy out there, arguably the strongest guy out there. There's no reason why you should be kind of floating and through halves and stuff like that. And then maybe you might flip a switch on the 4th quarter. That's all fine and dandy, but that's not going to be actually productive for the team. The other thing is his ability in this case here to actually address and attack mismatches, which used to frustrate the hell out of me watching games.
Oh,
6'9" and 240
right.
pounds, and you're letting them get away with you playing a 2-guard on you. And like that should never happen. So you're sitting there going, what are we doing? So those two, I said over the summer, if he does nothing else but those 2 things, he should be a guy who should consistently hit about maybe 17 to 18 points.
There's also a third component, which was his 3-point shot, hence the third, right? And now he's adapting to that, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I see the 3-point shot as gravy. I think the thing that I think was the next part in this case here is that you need to get like a go-to move in the post or the mid post. So late in the season last year, he started working on this turnaround jump shot, which, was like, okay, I see what you're doing. It started off pretty close, like 5 feet in. This year now, I've seen him hit shots, I think the Chicago game, where I saw him hitting it from 17 feet out, turnaround jump shots, which is like, oh, okay. So if that's a bread and butter shot for you, that's good. What I hope is the next phase of it, because I'm not sure if the 3-point shooting is going to be staying consistent. That's all this. I'm not sure how sustainable it is. He's shooting it pretty hot right now.
I want to see it get better.
Yeah, I just want to see it get better, but I just want to hold the horses here for a second. Like, he's shooting like 40% from 3. Do I think that's going to continue for the rest of the season? No, I don't think so. May you prove me wrong? I don't think so. But I'm not saying that's even a bad thing. Like, if he ends up shooting at the end of the season 34% from the 3, or even 35, it's all about the margins. That's fantastic. That alone now starts opening up space for you as well as your teammates. So if that's the thing, because he was like 28% last year, if he moves up to 34%, that's a win, right? So it doesn't have to be like all of a sudden he's shooting 40% now and all of a sudden he's like Klay Thompson. I'm not asking for it to be that, but what I'm hoping for is that those post and mid post moves, the turnaround jumper is something he can deploy, and they have a counter for it when guys are playing for him for the turnaround jumper, up and under move, for example, to counter that move when people take it away from him. So that alone will give him 20 points a night. And the other part of his offense, to finish in this case here, he has to learn, and this is why the turnaround jumper could get dangerous, you have to learn to try to draw fouls. If you want to be a consistent 20-plus scorer, you can't go in there having 2 fouls the size you are and the athletic ability you have. You can't be getting 2 fouls a night. 2 foul attempts a night.
You're 100% right on that. Look at Joel Embiid the other night with he was just dropping and flopping and crying and whatever. Look at LeBron. You can see it's a culture within that. Yeah. But let's get to other players before we get out of here, my man. Okay, give me some quick takes. Okay, now the inside Yak.
Pirtle right now, I think they're not using him correctly. I don't think he should be in the high post here distributing the basketball, because the problem that's happening is the defense is not respecting him as an offensive threat. So they're playing the passing lanes, which then clogs up the offense. I would prefer him, which they started doing a little bit in the Milwaukee game, and they did it a little bit in the Philly game. Start playing him at the dunker spot. He really shouldn't be up there trying to distribute, to try to spread the ball around, because he's not a threat. He can't shoot the jump shot. So that's my thing with Pirtle. I think defensively, he's had moments, but once again, we've seen many nights already this year, fourth quarters come, he's sitting on the pine beside Darko. That can't be the case.
I agree with you 100%. Now, give me your quick take on Schroeder.
Schroeder, overall, I like what he's done. I think the problem I have with Schroeder is less to do with him and more to do with the coach actually giving him so much bandwidth to do whatever he wants. There's a stat out there now, it's floating around, where he's like leading the team in touches or usage rate. Like, that should not be the case.
Oh, for a guy
but in this case, on the team that you have here, for a guy in this case that we weren't sure was even going to start before the preseason started, to him now starting.
Roach for saying that.
Right. Yeah. Like, so for him to go from there to all of a sudden now leading the team in this case with touches and stuff like that, why have 2 playmaking forwards, which has shown historically on this team is the best way we actually generate offense, for that to end up being Schroeder, who is not a great finisher around the hoop, distributes the ball well. I'm not saying that. I like Schroeder overall, but I think, once again, not used to his full strength.
Okay. Another player I want to bring up. I got 2 more players to bring up with you. Okay. Next one is Pascal Siakam. What do you think of his performance over the course of this first season?
I thought he would be the next person you would bring up in this case here. So, yes, he's been obviously a lightning rod in this case. I think I'm on the wrong side of the fence on this, but I think in this case here they have done a disservice to Pascal. Like, you don't kind of like try to minimize the capabilities of, up to now he's still your best player. The numbers show it. Okay, the numbers show that when he's on the court, he's a more productive player than any other player you have in this case when he's in the lineup with somebody else. Him plus bench, him with the starters, him playing with Scotty, him playing without Scotty. his numbers still show in this case here. Because the reason why is he's the one guy on this team that actually can have some gravity. When he has the ball, all 10 eyes start looking at him. And this is the part that frustrates me the most, is that they have us playing as a spot-up three-point shooter. Like, really? What are we doing here? Why are we running? Like, if you had to tell you were drawing up a team for the Raptors, if you had to think about who's the guys going to be in the elbow in this case here to actually initiate offense, and you had these players available to you in this case here, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, or Jakob Poeltl, I think we would all say Jakob Poeltl would be the last choice you would take to make that decision.
Yeah, but I would put him at the best choice. The way he's been going when they're successful. I got another one for you.
Go ahead.
Here's a weird one before we head out of here, right? Malachi.
Oh gosh, I was hoping we could get away without speaking about Malachi. Jeez, I never seen a guy at 10th man on bench get so much pub in this case here. I'll say this with Malachi. I do wonder a little bit. I'll be straight. I've said it already. I question a little bit about if this coach is a bit of a yes man, because of some of the things and some of the decisions I see of who's getting playing time and who's not getting playing time and what roles they're playing. Malachi fits into this discussion perfectly, because based on how much time I see Malachi get, considering how bad Malachi's played in some of these games already, it is shocking in this case to see Malachi continue to be out there. Now, I'll give Darko credit. At least he's mitigating the damage in this case by putting him more with Scotty and Pascal, where it's not bench lineups without the two of them, because
and giving him reps.
Right, but in this case here, people think in this case that Malachi's a point guard. He's not actually being a point guard out there. He's being a floor spacer is what they're doing with him right now. Because if you play him at point guard, we saw early in the season, it's not going to work out well because he's not good at making decisions with the ball. And he doesn't understand shot and clock and situation point guard shit. So if you play him as a spacer, you can mitigate the damage. Have it with Pascal's hands or Scotty's hands. Even on the Milwaukee game, he's out there with Otto, who's an adult in this case here. I had to tell him, like, listen, dude, at the end of the third quarter, slow it down, okay? We can set up for this last shot. And Otto ran play in this case and got Scotty a wide open three. Well, Flynn was ready to take off and try to look like jack up with their shot. Like, dude, chill. Look at the clock. Right? So
I don't mind watching him drive through the paint. I don't mind that. Like, you can miss. I really don't give a shit or a rat's ass if you miss, right? But at least you put the defense and the opposing team on notice that he can get there, and which will, from a coaching standpoint, which opens up the 3-point side, right? Like maybe somebody in the corner or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I respectfully disagree, because I don't think Malachi Flynn provides any sort of gravity that anyone on the defensive side is actually respecting him to say, you know what, I'm gonna double down here when Malachi gets in the lane. They say, you know what, dude, I've seen your percentages around the net. Have at it. In this case, you think you could finish around here? Like,
you know what? I'm gonna be John Lennon and say, give Peace a chance.
Give Peace a chance. I'm fine with it. I like him as a spacer. If he's gonna be out there, have him out there to shoot threes. He can shoot threes pretty well. He's a bit streaky, but he can shoot them. So to me, that's his best role right now.
Speaking of threes, okay, last player. I know I said this just before. Okay, last player.
I know who.
How can the dick perform?
I knew you were gonna let that slide. Okay, here's my thing with Grady. I think he's a very talented scorer, I think, and he's a very smart player. And it says I think there's quite a few smart players, but I think what I like is that he understands the small things that play around star players, and he knows where to be around star players. I think what the problem is that they're not giving him a few spoon-fed shots to get him going. It's very similar to the McDaniel situation, where it's like it's feast or famine. And for a young player like that, that's a tough position. Like, I would love for him to get a couple pin downs. He doesn't have to start off with shooting a 3-point shot. Just come out curl and just knock down a shot. You know, a backdoor cut, something like that to get him going. And once he gets going, and he sees the ball in the hoop, the confidence gets building because he's a talented shooter. It'll work itself out. But if you're just gonna have him sit in the corner and say, "Hey, man," you know, that starts weighing on you as you keep missing his shots. It's like, right. So that's my thing with Grady, man. I'm defensively, he'll have some bad moments. He had a rough moment the other night against Philadelphia. You know, they saw him a second time and they made sure they weren't gonna let him off the hook that second time around. So he was on the island a few times. It wasn't pretty.
Well, you see, it's like what you said about confidence And it's like what I was saying about getting reps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And playing your game, and maybe the whole system, how it's changed post nurse era, right? But this has been an absolute great conversation. So the last thing before we get out of here, just give me a yes or a no.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Raptors can move up in the ranks in the Eastern Conference based on what we've seen?
What we've seen?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so then what's the record? What are you thinking they're gonna hit?
If they keep playing like this and they keep on trying to push this philosophy with the way they're actually using their personnel, this team in this case will probably be right where people think they are, 35 wins at best. At best.
Dude, like, I okay, so we differ on this.
I'll be honest with you. I've said it right there, and for folks in this case, I would say to our crew there, the Basketball Rewind. What's up, Kenyon? I've said it on his podcast. When the season started, I was bullish on this team. And I'm still kind of bullish on this team if they figure things out. But I had them winning anywhere from 44 games and maybe up to 47, 48 games. Because I'm not really scared of that many teams in the East. And I thought they have a good enough roster, which I still think they do. But it comes down to about how many L's you as a coach are willing to take before your ego gets out of the way and play toward the strengths of your players. That's what it comes down to.
Ooh, okay, we differ because I said a lot more than that. I put them in the 40s. I can't remember exactly. Ask Coach Roach.
No, I
from the East Coast, Tim Roach. Ask him.
No, I have them at the beginning of the season in the same boat as you. But you asked me right now, which is a different question.
Ah.
Yeah, right? That's not why I had the beginning of the season. But right now, after 6 games, I can't see this team winning 40 games based on how this team is playing. They got like a really bad half-court offense. Like, they're worse than last year's offense, which is hard to believe.
And it's interesting because they're in the top 5 for defensive rating and last in offensive rating in the league, which it doesn't make sense to me. Like, as a former coach, I would be like, "What the you guys doing?" Like, I get defense.
Yeah, but it makes sense in this case when you draft a bunch of 6'9" guys that are really athletic and can't shoot. It makes perfect sense.
I'll give you a quick anecdote before we get out of here. I was coaching a rec team, and my guys, 3 of them went down court on one defender, and they just kept like lobbying passes to each other and making it all look nice. And I said, "What the fuck you doing?" I'm like, "This ain't NBA Live. Put the ball in the fucking hole and get the fuck back on defense." I'm yelling this from the bench, right? So I understand it's like maybe they're taking too much time on their offense and trying to pass the ball around too much, as to what you said, as opposed to just exposing the mismatches and taking it upon yourself, as opposed to saying, take this step, that step, like you said, right? I'm just coattailing off of your point, right? But B, I gotta tell you, I love this. I love talking to you, my man. Right? So, is there anything left that you would like to say to the people to let them know where to get hold of you before we get out of here? Because
at Beyond Locker Room RM, in this case, also too, you can find sometimes I'll be on Basketball Rewind as well too.
Yes, sir. All right, my man. Thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. On behalf of the To The Point family, and if you are watching, I consider you To The Point family, right? So much love. We appreciate you. Guys, let's keep it positive for the Raptors season right now, okay? So on behalf of myself and everybody else, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and peace.
Peace.